Panthers, they held their final presser of the season today. We heard from Coach RHULE, several players, and there are quite a few nuggets to take away from what they shared today. So let's start with a guy we really haven't seen all season long, Christian McCaffrey. He played just 3 games this season due to an ankle, then shoulder, then quad injury. This after he joined the 1,000 club last season. It was probably the best running back we may have seen in our lifetime, just for argument's sakes. Christian says he tried to play in every single game until the last game when RHULE just said, you know what, let's just shut it down. Too many injuries, enough of this. The good news is nothing too serious to require surgery in the offseason. Here's CMC.
To play every time I could, and you know, if I could go, I was going to play, but unfortunately I caught the bug this year, and you know, like I said, I'm just thankful it's nothing, you know, too serious that I have. So I'll, you know, like I said, I'll be good to go. When it rains, it pours. It was one thing after the other. Coach RHULE's mindset is that he wants to win every single game. You know, there's no, you know, trying to lose to get a draft pick or anything like that. And I love that mindset, and that's kind of how I was.
All right, Josh, what was your biggest takeaway from what CMC said today?
I mean, honestly, you heard it a little bit right there. The guy just sounded really sad. He sounded like, you know, when you miss 13 games for basically the first time in his life. If I remember correctly, I think earlier this season he said the game that he sat out against the bowl game when he was at Stanford, the game that he sat out was the first game that he had missed in his entire life. Wow. Like middle school, high school, college, pros. He had never missed any games. And this season is essentially a lost season. So it's to see a guy like that come back next year, and it's just going to prove to him that he needs to be even better next year.
What was your takeaway, Carla?
I think my takeaway was just the fact that I think he's realizing, you know, he isn't used to being injured, right? Just like Josh, you just said that, but he's realizing there's a difference between training to get back on the field and then considering your overall health. And I think guys like that, I mean, obviously he's a very fit player. He didn't realize that before, and he tried to come back too early, tried to overcompensate. Honestly, you can probably have too much rehab, too much training to get back on the field, and I think that's probably what he did, and I think he realized that. So I'm hoping that helps him in the offseason and moving forward for next season.
And I don't know that any of what I'm about to say is true, but it seemed like last year he couldn't have done it. Typical, right, Klein?
just you got stuff to say. He might have had 8,000 yards last year. I don't even remember.
But last year he was as good as any running back has ever been in the game. 3rd player to ever join the 1,000 club. So what else can you do but train and train and train? So maybe it was a detriment because he wanted to work out so much harder because he thought that's the way he could have gotten better. But he just overtrained, it sounded like he thought, and then he tried to come back too early, tried to do too much too soon, and then there we are in that predicament. Then we have Teddy Bridgewater. This was interesting, Josh, because we had so much fun with Teddy being so good early that we actually ran full screen saying how good he was, and he was the best quarterback in the NFC South. Now, we said it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, of course, because we know Drew Brees is actually better and Tom Brady is better.
Did we say that? Who's we in this scenario?
You said this, and we allowed you. But, I mean, on the show, we just had fun that he had better stats than those guys early in the season. He finished the year with 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He really declined through the season. He was 0-8 on game-winning or game-tying drives. We're going to get to you, Kleiner, in a minute, but more importantly, I want to hear from someone more important like Teddy.
You know, this offseason, I want to make sure that I spend the time improving myself to be able to, you know, play a full 16 games. You know, I hadn't done this since my 2nd year in the league, and you know, as you watch throughout the course of the season, you know, it started showing. So, no, that's one of the things, man. You know, whatever happens this offseason happens. You know, pretty sure the team will make the best move, you know, in the interest of the team.
Just like last year when the guys asked me the same question, I don't know that I'll ever answer that with a resounding yes at any position. I just so believe in competition. But that being said, I think we're just going to have to wait and see. As I said, I believe that Teddy's going to have a tremendous offseason and come back and be ready to go. But I think, you know, we're going to have to wait and see in terms of any moves that we make in the offseason and where we're headed, both at the quarterback position and really at any position.